What's up, Dawson Wheeler?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Man, I am good. It's been a while since we have done a Facebook Live video, sir.
I know it's good. Been up early this morning, packing the van, leaving, going over to the Natchez Trace with my buddy, and was up in the Smokies yesterday, hiking down the north end of the Appalachian Trail, and that was great. And now my buddy's going to try to ride 20 hours straight, 20 hours straight on his road bike down the Natchez Trace, and I'm going to follow him and serve him up drinks and ice and food, and I'll report
Flexol,
back next week.
Flexol, ibuprofen.
He's a fit man. He's going to do a good job. I'm excited.
I saw some pictures of your trip, and we post them. I know you post them on your personal Instagram, dwheeler59, and we also post them on Dayfire. But you took some pictures yesterday, man, and a lot of times when you get out in the great Mother Nature, you've got these big giant vistas, and you forget there's a lot of beauty amongst the trails or where you're at that's kind of micro. And you took some good pictures of some mushrooms and other stuff that was around you.
It's really, really, I don't know if the word is right, dank in the Smokies. The humidity is so high and it's so drippy and wet, and the mushrooms are, it's almost stinky. So many mushrooms are up and some are rotten, and
but they all look different.
It's a kind of a different thing. Afternoon showers are coming in. We had it grumbling around all day yesterday. Views were coming and going. It was a great day. It was a hard hiking day, but that's the reason we're out there right now, is just trying to get our distance longer and longer and longer.
I talked to somebody it's been years ago, but I can't remember if it was on the radio. It may have been last year on this podcast. I can't remember. I'm at that age now where I remember things, but I don't know why or where from. But somebody was talking about this region, the Appalachian, especially in the South, and how it's almost become or is tropical at times. It's almost, with the humidity, it's tropical almost.
Well, no, it's considered, it really is, I guess, at its core, considered a rainforest.
Yeah.
So the Appalachians are kind of a tropical rainforest of sorts. So, and the Smokies create their own weather. So on any given day, you can have afternoon showers. But right now, it's pretty afternoon grumbly. It's really beautiful. The clouds are rolling in and out. Now the streams and things are low, and the water sources are limited, especially up on the Appalachian Trail. And yeah, I took a squeeze filter yesterday, a Catadine squeeze filter that, you kind of scoop it up like a cup of water. And there really wasn't areas up on the ridge that you could get water. If you had a pump filter that you have a straw and you can actually like syringe it, pump it out, you could have gotten water up high, but my type of filter would have been really hard to pull water from. But we were carrying a huge amount of water yesterday when we were out.
But it goes back to what you've said 1,000 times, and your guest, you can have fun going outside and doing short hikes or long hikes. It stops being fun if you've not prepared and taken things into, been mindful of what you're doing and how you're going beforehand.
Yeah, I think yesterday, we started out with, each had 3 liters of water, and then we had a filter with us, and I used all 3 liters. I think I took the last sip when I was about a half a mile away, and I'm glad I had 3 liters out there. We did about 16 and a half, 17 miles yesterday. So yeah, wow. You need that kind of water.
Wow. Okay. So it's kind of a nice segue into one of the questions I was going to ask you. We get people on all the time that do everything around the world, from things that I go, that's just too crazy, I would never do, to things that I go, I wish I could do that. I'd like to do that. You have done a little bit of all those things, and that's why you can talk to these different people at a different, at different adventures they've had. One of the things that I find interesting is when I talk to you is you are super active, and I'm not giving you that as a kudo, but you're over 60 years old. And you're super, super active. I didn't mean to blow the curtain behind that. Sorry, man. My bad.
It's okay.
I feel like I'm about to, you gave me the look like I'm about to get my ass whipped or something.
No, it's kind of a badge of honor, really.
Well,
I've survived 61 years.
But, and I stay active other ways, and going outside is part of that, just not like you. Things have changed for me. I'm 52, almost 53. So things have changed for me on how I stay active physically. And I know they've changed for you too. Excuse me. It's allergies. It's not the COVID cough, I don't think. So we're good. Looking back on it though, what would you say to the younger Dawson who's 20s and 30s? Would you change anything? Would you give them advice? And then how have you kind of adjusted what you do over the last 10 to 15 years so you can stay active, so you don't just shut it down?
Well, it's a good question, but for me in my younger years, I recreated a lot when I was with, I would always try to find a partner or groups to go out with, and I was a little uncomfortable about being alone in the mountains. I always had, hey, so and so, let's go on a backpacking trip. And so as you get older, sometimes it's just hard to find partners, and that's one thing. And two, you start settling in and you have more comfort with yourself.
Right.
So one piece of advice is try to do as many things as you can alone. Get comfortable with yourself, so when you're in the woods, you're self-reliant. In fact, we ran into some people yesterday, and I asked what trail they came up to get to the top of the mountain. And there were four guys, three of the guys did not know. And then they all pointed over at this other guy and they go, I don't really know. We're with this guy. Well, from a safety point of view, if this guy, whoever that guy was, if for some reason he got separate from the group or he was in an accident and he couldn't communicate, you had three guys out there that were big, strong men that could have gotten this guy out of the woods potentially, but they wouldn't have known where to go. And
right.
They couldn't have told me, hey, go get, our car is parked here, go to our car. And they couldn't have given me any information whatsoever. So again, be self-reliant, even if you're in a group.
Is part of that, because I've heard you say this in the world we live in now where it's a lot of this.
It is.
Yeah. But is part of that self-reliance, and looking back on it, aren't you glad you learned how to use a map, a real map?
We had a map. We always have a map, and there's been some in the hiking forums around the country. People are asking, I get out with my phone, what's the best app? What's the best map app? And I always respond here, there are some great map apps that are out there, but always take a hard map with you as well. Because you could have a great app with your phone and have plenty of power, and you could even have reserve power, but you could drop the phone. And case in point, yesterday, hiking down this trail called Chestnut Lead, and I always have my phone on airplane mode, so I'm saving the battery, and I only have my phone on to take pictures. We hear a phone ringing coming down the trail. So my buddy Marvin goes, I thought you had it on airplane mode. And I go, I do have it on airplane mode. And I go, that's your phone. And he goes, my phone's in the car. He goes, we came with your phone. And I go, well, I have it on airplane. So we were having this, back and forth dialogue. And then, so I grab my phone, which I keep on my waist so I can take pictures. And I look at it and the airplane mode is on. So somebody had dropped a cell phone off the side of the trail down the woods and it was ringing.
Oh, wow.
Now we couldn't find it, nor did we really give a rat's behind about looking for it. But the phone's ringing off the side of the trail, 10 or 15 feet down in the woods in the shrubbery, and somebody had dropped it and it rolled off. So again, if you're that guy and you had your map program and you were relying on your phone that day,
it's a bad day.
Whenever he went for that phone, whenever that was, a day ago, 3 days ago, 5 days ago, whenever he was out there, that phone is history.
Have you made physical? I know as you get older, things change physically, but looking back, would you tell the young Dawson 20, 30 years ago, would you have done more adventures? Would you have done different adventures? Would you have said, hey, pull back because my knees now regret that? Or is there no regrets? And physically, what are you having to do a little differently than you did back then?
I've talked to a lot of people that have been road runners, and I know road runners today that are 50, 60, 70 years old, and their hips and all their joints are in great shape. And then I know, we all know people that have had to have their knees worked on or their hips worked on. And I think, that's kind of luck of the draw and kind of predetermined. But, I definitely wouldn't run on concrete, if I was running on the road. So I would continue to try to run on soft surfaces for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
How about, but are there adventures you would do that you didn't do back then? Or did you really live the life where if there was something you wanted to do, you went and did it?
I think anybody that does it, that's getting outside, there's always that one more. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. I certainly on long distance hiking, I never did the Pacific Crest Trail. I would have loved to have done that. There's 3 trails, in what they call the Triple Crown: the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail. And so it would have been great to have done the Triple Crown. I did the Appalachian Trail, and that's where it ended. And then fast forward 30 odd years later, we rode the Divide, which is crossing over the Continental Divide from Canada to Mexico. But there's also a footpath Continental Divide, which really is, of the 3 majors, probably the hardest. So, it'd have been great to have done the Triple Crown. I would like to go do the Long Trail that's up in Vermont leading up to the Canadian border. That would be great. The Colorado Trail's 500 miles running from Denver over to Durango. That's still on the bucket list. The John Muir Trail that's out in California is still on the bucket list. That's a couple of 100 miles. So, there's still time to do it. You just, you have to.
You have to stop skiing.
You just got to be a little slower.
You just have to stop snow skiing about for 3 months a year. You got to make them.
You can't do any of those things in the dead of winter. That would be impossible.
Yeah, I guess it would be. And I love the fact you still have stuff on your bucket list. And I know there's been some adjustments as far as what you're having to do physically. And I think that's why you like these conversations. When we get people in that have done some of these big giant adventures, not only can you relate to them, but there's a little bit of living through them. When you start hearing their stories, you're like, man, that sounds fun.
Oh, I love hearing all the adventures. After you've had a couple of accidents where you've broken bones, for me personally, I guess I ride my mountain bike differently. I snow ski a little differently because I have been in accidents. I have broken bones. I have had climbing accidents where I've fallen and hit the ground. I don't want to put myself at that risk level, my risk tolerance at that extreme level. I don't want to put myself there any longer.
I wish we had a camera sometimes when we were talking to the young people in the podcast, and when younger people, 20s and 30s who are doing these crazy things, because I see you smiling because they've either not fallen yet or they have and they've come back, and I'll watch it and they'll start talking about this and you'll be like, you're just smiling like it's going to happen sooner or later, man.
Well, not really. When you're talking with people like we've talked with Stan and John and Andy, their level, everybody's risk tolerance is different. And it's in the really talented people, and let's just talk about those 3 guys, John and Andy Anderson and Stan Pritchard. They're competent. They've spent years and years and years and years training, and what you heard from all those guys is they know when to back down. Remember when Andy was talking about going across the Grand Traverse and the Grand Tetons, he had never done it because there was one, 150-foot pitch, one climbing pitch on the whole thing that he's never felt comfortable with.
Right.
So the really talented people know when to just say, I'm gonna try it a different day. Yeah. And most really, really competent people that's not to say they don't get in accidents, and accidents do happen, but the really talented people have great training, and they also know how to check their ego and be smart about what they're doing.
Well, most of the time I've found really people who are experts at something learn their lessons from things or from accidents or business, it's failure, but that are on small scale. So when you slip and fall and do something that doesn't really hurt you that bad, you register that really quick and go, okay,
Exactly.
I've learned it. I don't have to learn it on a big scale. You know,
Exactly.
we had Jennifer Far, is it Far David Par Davis? Par
Par
Davis.
dives. Yeah.
We had her, we had her on, and then I cannot remember the young lady that did, I think she did the Triple Crown at a young age, like in her teens, early 20s.
Lizzie.
There you go. When you start talking
Yeah.
about people with skill sets, and they've done way more than the stuff we talked about, but when you start talking about skill sets of people knowing when to push themselves, those are two that came to my mind, along with the three folks you mentioned that they just go forward, and they just something about them that pushes right through, and I admire that stuff. Real quick, one thing I noticed you posted, you didn't see a bear.
This is the first time all summer that I've not run into bear or boar. Uh, but and I've hiked a lot this summer in the Smoky Mountains, and I've seen at least one bear, usually more than one. And yesterday was the first time. And over on the north end of the Smokies, it's most people say, it's a good place to run into bears. And saw sign, but no bear yesterday. So my streak is over.
Well, is that normal? So is like this year been exceptionally high that you've seen a bear a lot, or
No,
is
it's
that
normal.
normal? Is it okay?
You got to remember in national parks, there's no hunting allowed in any national park.
Right.
So the wildlife is not as afraid of humans as they are in, say, national forest, where they associate people and guns a little more readily. So that's, if you go to Yellowstone, that's why, you got great wildlife viewing. And in the Smokies, if you're driving through Cades Cove, you're apt to see, or go to Cataloochee, you might see, the elk or something like that. So
I saw you post an article too. My question to you is, and I've got a surprise question, and we'll wrap it up.
okay.
But I saw you post this article to Dave Fire's Facebook page. Can you outrun Marvin or your friend? If something happens between you and a bear, are you faster than Marvin?
I think I am faster than Marvin right now because he's had a hip replacement.
I
But I
saw
tell
that
you what,
article.
I mean, even with his hip, Marvin got his hip replaced back in January, I think. And I'm
Wow.
telling you, you would not know it. That man is a machine. He just chugs along in the woods, and he never makes a peep. He just grinds along.
But I saw that article you posted about what to do if you see bear, and one of the things that it had was, sarcastically and a little bit of play on words, is just be faster than the person you're with, I think it said, or push your
Yeah,
friend down or something
yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah. But in the Smokies, black bears in the southern Appalachians typically, I mean, they're relatively shy animals, and just as long as you're not wearing a meat vest or something like that, and you're covered yourself with Kool-Aid, more than
So
likely you can just kind of eat. Everybody can kind of ease by each other, and you certainly
coexist.
don't want to feed them. That would be.
Just carry a little bag of meat in your pocket, and then if that happens, just, hey, buddy, can you hold this for a second? And you turn and walk the other way. You'll be all right.
Well, and
You'll
black
be all right.
bears and wild boar, they're not meat eaters anyway. So I mean, they rarely eat meat. They don't want to. They're foragers.
Yeah.
So
Here's my surprise question to you. I had two friends in the last 2 weeks reach out to me, and I've tried to connect them with you. Now, I don't know if they've reached out to you, but they're wanting to go on bigger 1 week, 2 week long ski trips this winter.
yeah, so one guy did reach out to me, and we've started the conversation because he wanted to go at a time of year that there's not a whole lot of snow. So
Well, I'm just saying, I learned this from you last year. This is kind of the time of year, the next couple of months, you're supposed to be working that out, right?
yeah, COVID 19er, is got some of these resorts in question. They're all currently planning to be open. The Vail resorts and the Icon Pass resorts, and everybody's planning and making plans on how they're going to social distance and deal with their lodges and bathrooms and chairlifts and everything. But it's all currently in motion, and people are buying passes and all that. But
are you planning?
oh yeah, I've rented a spot for 5 weeks already, and the passes are being bought. I am doing everything with refundable deposits in the event that there's catastrophic failure, and it can't happen.
But if you're new to this and you're not used to planning it, if you're not reading the fine print on some of this stuff, you may end up buying something that you don't really know the details of, and you might be stuck. And that's a good advice, I think.
Yeah, I mean, quickly, this is the time of year that I mean, more bookings for skiing are going on right now through September than any other time. This is when the passes are bought. This is when the reservations for housing are being made, and I mean, you should be doing your legwork right now and figuring out where you want to go.
Well, and we've done a couple podcasts about that. If you go to dayfirepodcast.com, scroll back, we've done at least 2 or 3 on how to get ready for ski trips that Dawson walks you through the details of that. So feel free to visit those. Hey, before we jump off for it, though, we got to give a shout out to Rock Creek, because it's the time of year people are buying book bags, and it's getting ready to be fall and pumpkin spice and cool.
Well, we've seen everything. It's back to school right now, and the schools, no matter where you are at some level, they're, for the most part, there's some kind of openings going on, and kids need to get book bags. And one of the things that I think continues from a safety point of view is, the mask. I encourage people to have their own water bottles, so you're not drinking from drinking fountains. I don't even know if they, for safety, if some of these people even have their water fountains on, but carrying water, carrying your food, and your day pack or your book bag, and all that translates as well to what you need to go day hiking. I mean, you still need that vessel, to carry water. If you're day hiking, you still need some bags and Tupperware type things to carry your sandwiches in. You definitely have to have a day pack. So, buying all this now, and Rock Creek's got those Rock Creek bucks are going on right now, where for your purchase, you receive these additional credits in cash that you have through Labor Day, I think is what they've got. And of course, I think that, you got to remember there's Rock Creek, and they're in Nashville, Tennessee, they're in Cleveland, Tennessee, and Chattanooga, and then all the gearhead stores that are all over Arkansas and down in Louisiana, and I think they go up into, Illinois as well. So, I mean, they're all over the place. And of course, you can log on to rockcreek.com and see all that selection online, never leave your house. So
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
Well,
and they do, Rock Creek. I will say, I was hiking in the Speed Goat 4s yesterday, or this old Speed Goats, and which is a Hoka shoe, and they're great, by the way. And Rock Creek's got the new Speed Goat 4s down at North Shore in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So if you're looking for a great hiking shoe and trail running shoe, it's called the Speed Goat 4. I love that shoe. And
how many pair do you have?
And yesterday I spent a lot of time in it, and sole's almost slick on my old pair. I can't give it up. But
I was going to ask, how many pair of those shoes do you have?
Yeah, in my closet right now, I have 4 pairs of Hokas. 4 pairs of Hokas.
You practice what you preach, man. You buy, if you like a shoe, buy more than one.
Find what fits and go for it. Yeah.
And Rock Creek can help you with that, no matter what you're getting ready to do. So thanks to Rock Creek and Gearhead. We appreciate them helping us make this podcast and this video series always happen. Dawson, thank you. I know you're packing your van and about to go on a little adventure yourself.
I'm walking out the door right now. Yeah.
Have fun, dude. I appreciate it, man.
Yep. Y'all have a great day.
See you, everybody. Check out dayfirepodcast.com. Bye.